Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope you guys had spectacular weekends. I hope you had a sterling time watching the NFC and the AFC title games. I hope you are ready to be off and rolling with me here on Outkick the Show, which is presented by Oddshark. Go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. And if you do, you will be glad that you did, because hopefully they will make you better at gambling and better informed than you would otherwise be. I'd encourage you to go check those out today. Also, I want to tell you, how many of you have substantial credit card debt? How many of you have a lot of money that you owe somewhere to somebody? Probably quite a bit of you, especially after the holiday season. So why not go get hooked up right now with a spectacular rate at my friends at thehomeloanexpert.com. They can help you wipe out all of your credit card debt, turn a 4% rate into a 2% rate on your mortgage. They can also help you get pre-qualified if you are starting as spring looms closer and closer to go out and buy your biggest purchase ever, which is a home. So get hooked up, save a lot of money with my friends at thehomeloanexpert.com. Tell them Clay Travis sent you. When you need a mortgage, you'll be glad that you did, and we will get hooked up. This is time to get rich. And also, go check out OutkickLaw.com. If you need a lawyer for any reason whatsoever, I can put you in touch with the best lawyers in your area. Go to OutkickLaw.com, put in your information, and we can hook you up with the best possible lawyers wherever you are, anywhere in the country. Okay, let's dive right into what we saw in the NFC and the AFC title game. I'm going to start with the NFC because it was such a total whitewash, total wipeout for the Vikings. Feel bad for Vikings fans. They get a huge win with the Stephon Diggs catch. They feel like, hey, we're going to get to go home and play in the Super Bowl in front of our home fans. Next thing you know, they get crushed by the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. This game was never in question. I leave that game thinking two things. One, Nick Foles has a lot of value right now, potentially on the open market, based on the way he performed in this playoff game. Two, as we talk fly, Eagles, fly, Carson Wentz coming back. I wonder how much of the credit for Carson Wentz's success goes to Doug Peterson and the offensive coaching staff. And on top of that, I also wonder, as we look at the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation, what in the world's going to happen? What is going to happen with Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, and Case Keanum? There is a recipe for difficulty there. They have three pretty decent quarterbacks, I would think. Not sure that they have any great ones, but we'll see what ends up happening there. In the meantime, the Eagles are in as the NFC representative, and I don't think there was a lot of reason to talk about anything that happened in that game because the Vikings were so bad, the Eagles were so great, and the NFC did not have very much drama. On the other side of the equation, if you listen to my morning radio show, I think you have to go back to that AFC title game and think about Tom Brady in this particular situation. In this particular situation, you think about Tom Brady, 3rd and 18, 10 stitches on his finger. Rob Gronkowski is out. Double-digit deficit to the number one defense against the pass in all of the NFL. Julian Edelman's been out for the season. It's 3rd and 18, a down and distance that's converted only 10% of the time. And at that time, Brady converts. 4 plays later, it's 20-17. And then Brady, who is the greatest quarterback of all time. I think Brady is 1, Peyton Manning is 2. And I still think Peyton Manning might have been higher if he got Bill Belichick. But given the circumstances, greatest quarterback combined with greatest coach of all time. What Tom Brady has done in terms of coming back against the grain, 28-3 down in the Super Bowl, coming back here from 20-10 down, winning outright. I think Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And I am surprised that the primary storyline, at least on my Twitter feed, was not about how good Tom Brady was. It was about the NFL officiating. And I think that's a joke, okay? I think that NFL officiating is frequently wrong. I think there's too many judgment calls. I think you should be able to challenge them. But if you break down all of the calls from the AFC title game, there was one questionable call all day that was made against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was the pass interference against A.J. Boye in the first half. I think that was the right call. I think that was the right call against A.J. Boye. I think he pass interfered. I think it should have been called. There were two later pass interferences that I thought should have been called also against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the second half. I don't think anybody's arguing that the Jalen Ramsey call in the second half shouldn't have happened. If I am a Jags fan, what I am focused on, more so than that pass interference call in the first half, which to me seems like desperation, is the delay of game. The delay of, if you want to point to something that happened in the first half that absolutely caused a major impact on this game, it was not the pass interference call. The Patriots scored a touchdown on that drive with 55 seconds left. I think it's likely that they would have scored on that drive regardless of whether that call was made or not. And if you are upset and you are a Jags fan, there was no call made in the second half, certainly in the final 10 minutes, on that benefited Tom Brady that led to you losing. It was your defense unable to stop Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time. But the play that I would be focused on if I were a Jags fan was what we controlled, which was out of a timeout, late in the first half, the Jags did a delay of game penalty. That's an inexcusable penalty. You should never get a delay of game penalty out of a timeout at any level of football ever. You certainly shouldn't do it in the NFL in the AFC title game. If they snap the ball on time there, Blake Bortles drops back, hits a first down pass, and it's likely that the clock effectively runs out on the Patriots there and that the Jags kick a field goal to go up 17-3, maybe get a touchdown to go up 21-3. And I'm not sure with the defense they have that the Patriots would have been able to come back at all. That is a huge error. I haven't heard a good explanation about why it happened at all. That was entirely within the Jags' control, and they blew it. There was no judgment call there. The clock hit 0. The call was made correctly. The Jags' offense at the end of the first half, then after Brady scored to make it 14-10, the Jags came back, and with 55 seconds left and 2 timeouts, they took back-to-back knees to end the situation there. Now, that's the call that I would be focused on, and the officials had nothing to do with it. Focusing on the officiating, including the Myles Jack fumble recovery, which, by the way, was ruled correctly. We talked about that on the show this morning. Myles Jack was down based on NFL rules. The way that he took the ball away, he was down by contact. Even if that didn't count, a foot of Dion Lewis hit Myles Jack when he was also down. No touchdown there. When you actually review it, that was ruled correctly. I think it's shameful. I think it's shameful and pathetic that when Tom Brady has one of the greatest comebacks of all time, injured, without his top weapon, and he comes back against the number 1 pass defense with ease, just goes up and down the field against them. That should be the storyline. Brady's greatness, not NFL officiating. If you point to NFL officiating at all, you can point to one call that you didn't like, which is nothing. Now people say, what about the Patriots holding on? First of all, there was no accepted holding penalty on the offensive or defensive sides of the ball in the entire game. That is, they never threw a flag for defensive holding in the secondary, and they never threw a flag that was accepted for offensive holding in the entirety of the game. So they let these guys play. And if you're worried about offensive holding at the end of the game, do you really think there was any chance Blake Bortles was going to go the length of the field for a touchdown against the New England Patriots with 1 minute to go and no timeouts? Come on. Get out of here. This game was won by Tom Brady. The Patriots won the game. NFL officiating, by and large, they did not blow the whistle. If you're upset because you're the Jags and you got no downfield passing threat, pass interference calls, you didn't throw the ball down the field. I don't remember Blake Bortles ever putting the ball in the air down the field where his receivers had a chance to make a play on the ball at all. I just don't remember it at all. The Patriots dominated this game from a physical perspective. Now, the Jags had a lot of difficulty staying in front of Brandon Cooks, right? I mean, he was up and down the field. Nobody could cover him. And as a result, I think A.J. Boye made a bad play there. Boye didn't play that well. Boye didn't play that well against the Steelers, and he didn't play that well against the Patriots. They went at him. They did not give him a great deal of respect, and frankly, he got burned. He got burned a decent amount by the Steelers, too. This is why I always say, if you have to choose between a great defense or a great quarterback, give me the great quarterback every time. The NFL is a quarterback's league. It's why I said, look, I hope the Eagles can play well. I hope we get a competitive Super Bowl. I want the Super Bowl to be good. We'll be doing the entire show from Minneapolis. But the Jags defense wasn't that good down the stretch. They gave up 42 points to the Steelers, and when the game had been handed off to them, when they had the ball, when they had the opposing team had the ball with 10 minutes left and they had a double-digit lead, they gave it up. They effectively gave up that game. And so you can point to Blake Bortles all you want. To me, the storyline of this game was Brady besting the Jaguars defense. And that's why I've been saying from the get-go, don't rely on the defense. You have to have a difference maker at quarterback. And ultimately, Blake Bortles was not a difference maker at quarterback. That's period. Where are my Bortles guys today? I thought Bortles played pretty well. Comments, a lot of people in the comments section were defending Bortles all week long. I thought Bortles played as well as he possibly could. But he got that delay of game penalty, which was the equivalent of a turnover. And ultimately, you have to be able, I said it earlier, I said it this morning on the show. I said you have to, in that situation, you have to stand over Tom Brady and keep pumping bullets into him. You know how in a horror movie, you think you might have killed the villain, but if it wasn't an incredibly dramatic death, the villain isn't dead? You know how that always happens in a horror movie? Like you think you killed Freddy Krueger, or you think you killed Jason, or you think you killed Michael Myers. Unless you stand directly over the top of him, just going again and again and again with the bullet. I always ask that question. Like, if you think he's dead and he's a really bad guy, why don't you stand over him with your gun and just keep firing into him again and again and again? If I had a situation where I thought I'd killed Freddy Krueger, I'm not going to just stick with, you know what, I got him with I got him one time with this stab wound. You know what, I think I got him. He's down, he's not moving. I'm going to walk over there and keep putting bullets in him. And they had a chance. They had a chance, the Jags did, to stand over Brady and officially in that game. And I thought they went tight on their play calling quite a bit. I thought they recognized they had Bortles and they weren't very confident about him. And I thought at the end of the game, Brady demonstrated now why he's the greatest quarterback of all time, in conjunction with the best coach of all time. Remember, in the second half, the Jags bombed through a 54-yard field goal, which was a great kick by Lambeau. And then they also got, I think, a 44-yarder, 2 field goals. They weren't ever that close to actually scoring touchdowns. The play where they had an opportunity to win this game, I really do think with 2 minutes left in the first half, they got the delay of game penalty and ended up having to punt there. Here's the other question. I have. When they got the fumble recovery, and I think it was ruled correctly on Myles Jack, the Jags had the ball right there, up 10 with 12 minutes to go. Up 10 with 12 minutes to go. I think anybody out there who's looking at this saying, man, the Patriots gave this game away. There's so much. Look, the Patriots were going to get the ball back. If the Patriots had needed to score at the end of that game, they would have been in great shape to be able to win. Okay? Here's my other statement. A lot of talk about conspiracies. And I'm guilty of this sometimes in the heat of the moment, like during the Titans game. I was like, man, this game is rigged. The NFL desperately wants the Patriots to win in advance because ratings are tanking. And by the way, ratings are tanking. The NFC and the AFC championship games were down again. But I want to walk through this with you with Conspiracy Guy. All right? Conspiracy Guy is really active on social media. Conspiracy Guy was really active this morning with me during my radio show. Let me explain how this works. The NFL does not make any direct money off of television ratings right now. Okay? Follow me along this path. Their games are already sold. They aren't in a profit share. They aren't in a rev share. The Super Bowl is already sold. NBC is going to air the Super Bowl no matter what. Now, NBC makes money off of the Super Bowl. And the better the ratings are for NBC, the more money they make. Last year, Fox made money off the Super Bowl. The year before that, CBS made money off the Super Bowl. Those 3 networks rotate through every 3 years. CBS, Fox, NBC, CBS, Fox, NBC on repeat. Okay, that's the way it works. The way that they make money is pretty simple. They make money based on how many people tune in and watch the game and based on what they can sell the advertising for. Now, if you believe in a conspiracy, you either have to believe that the NFL, despite the fact that it makes no money off of television ratings, told its officials, hey, give the benefit of the doubt to the Patriots so we can make sure that they're in the Super Bowl. And then the NFL officials did such a bad job that the Patriots were down 20-10, facing a 3rd and 18 with 10 minutes to go. They had a 10% chance of converting that 3rd and 18 and a 10% statistical chance to win the game. If the officials were trying to rig the game, they literally had done the worst job imaginable. Also, if they were trying to rig the game and the NFL met with the officials and asked them to deliver a particular outcome, guess what? They would then have committed a crime and be facing prison time for engaging in a conspiracy to fix a sporting event. So you have to believe that the NFL, a multi-billion-dollar organization, was giving direction to its officials to rig a game, and that the officials did such a bad job rigging the game that they made no controversial calls to benefit the Patriots throughout the entire second half, and that the Patriots had the ball at the time in the 10 minutes left in the game on 3rd and 18, down 10, and had a really small chance to win, and they got no call to their benefit in the final moments of the game, the final quarter, okay? You have to believe all of that to be true. Moreover, in order to actually be a conspiracy that makes some sense, the conspiracy would have to be driven by NBC. If NBC were driving the conspiracy, they would have had to figure out a way to meet with the NFL officials. Since NBC is airing the game, they would have had to meet with the NFL officials. And if they met with the NFL officials, they would have had to persuade the NFL officials who don't work for them to adjust the outcome of a game based on the fact that NBC had the game going on and they were hoping to make more money. Conspiracies don't make sense most of the time when you actually break them down because they're too convoluted and the benefit is too difficult. What questions do you guys have? Conspiracy guy will still be all up in my mentions. And if there was an intent to fix this game or to rig it in the favor of the Patriots, again, what I would say is, why did the Patriots get down by 10? Why did the Patriots face a 3rd and 18? There was absolutely no chance the Patriots were going to win this game if you were betting from a pure statistical perspective. The Myles Jack call was made correctly. If you follow the letter of the law, when you think about it like this, the Myles Jack situation is pretty simple. When Myles Jack took that ball away, they were already touching against each other on the ground. Think about it as the perspective of a wrestling for an interception. When you have two guys wrestling for possession of the ball, and at the very end, one guy pulls it away and lands on the ground, that guy is down, okay? So under the rules, when you're combating for the ball and you both go to ground at the same time, touching each other, you are both down. Think about it like an interception. If you had a ball thrown up and both guys were trying to wrestle to pull it away and they both hit the ground, then somebody is down on the ground and they are down immediately, okay? Here's the other thing. If you go watch the tape, Myles Jack was touched down again by Dion Lewis's foot, even if you don't accept the correct ruling being made on that play. He was down and they had possession at the point when he was down. Period. All right? That's the truth. Furthermore, if you want to go into, well, they only called one penalty on the Patriots, what penalty should they have called on the Patriots? They didn't call very many discretionary penalties on the Texans either. The Texans had a delay of game. Okay, that's obvious. It was called. The Texans had a false start. That's obvious. It was called. The Texans had an illegal, the Jags had an illegal procedure. Okay, that was called. All three of them were correctly called there. Then there are three other calls. There was the pass interference by Jalen Ramsey in the second half, which I don't think anybody disputes. There was the hit on the helmet of Rob Gronkowski, which I don't think anybody disputes. That's 5 100% legitimate calls made against the Jaguars. Furthermore, there was also the call made in the first half of pass interference. I think that was the right call. Even if it wasn't the right call, you're focusing on a first half pass interference penalty to determine the overall outcome of the game. I would point to the fact that the Jags were up 20-10 and had forced Brady into a 3rd and 18 with 10 minutes left in the game. Your ass got beat, Jacksonville. Your ass got beat because you went up against the greatest of all time at the quarterback position and the greatest of all time at the coaching position. That is why you lost. No other situations. Murder was the case at the Keanum. That's not bad. All right. What additional question? The NFL is not rigged. It's rigged because Brady's the greatest quarterback to ever play. The NFL is rigged because Brady's going to win again. Why would the NFL want Brady to win every time? Again, your conspiracy theories make no sense. There's absolutely no sense. So that's the truth. The NFL is not rigged. The NFL is typically won by the better quarterback and the better coach. Guess who has the best coach? The Patriots. Guess who has the best quarterback? The Patriots. Think about that if you're trying to argue about how this game was rigged. I think that is a ridiculous situation. Why do the Patriots get all the calls then? Because they're disciplined and they don't screw up. If the Jags had not had the delay of game penalty, if they had not false started, and if they had not had the illegal shift, that's 3 of the penalties that would have never existed against them. The Jags didn't throw the ball deep. That's the other thing. The Jags never really threw the ball deep. Tell me one time when Jacksonville threw the ball more than 20 yards down the field and the Jacksonville receiver had any chance at all to make a play on the ball. It just didn't happen. That's because they had Blake Bortles and they were afraid to have him stand in the pocket and throw the ball down the field because they don't trust him. The Patriots trust Tom Brady implicitly. The Jags had no faith in Blake Bortles. And that's because Bortles can only play when he's ahead. That's because as soon as he needed to come back and make a play once they got down, he wasn't able to do it. They had Blake Bortles. He's fine if he's got the lead and he can hand off to Leonard Fournette and they can manage him and he can make plays behind the line of scrimmage. He's a front-running quarterback. Look at his passer rating. Ultimately, you win or lose in the NFL with your quarterback. How do you win or lose? You win or lose with the guy who in the fourth quarter can drive the team down the field and get a score. And they can't do it. I agree with you. The touchdown catch by Amendola was absurd. Getting both feet down, going that high for the pass, freakish level catch. Just an absolutely beast level catch. So was the 3rd and 18 catch. It was under pressure. So was the first touchdown catch. Amendola just took over. And if you're a Jags defensive back and you were talking so much trash or you're on the Jags defense, I think you got to live with that. I think you got to live with that big time. So that's the truth. And again, I come back to all the talk about the first half, all the talk about the turnover, about the pass interference, not very much talk about the delay of game out of a timeout. That's inexcusable. It can't happen. And not any talk about taking two knees with 55 seconds left and 2 timeouts. That's a beast level decision. The Patriots made plays and the Jags didn't. The Jags tried to back their way in. They tried to hope that the first hit had killed the villain, and it didn't happen. That's the truth. All right, a couple of other things that I think make note. Did you guys see, we got a Outkick guy, Tennis, I'm not even sure how you pronounce his name, Tennis Sandgren. Somebody probably knows how to pronounce his name. In the Australian Open, he's moved into the final 8. And this is pretty crazy. He got called out in the post game early this morning after he advanced and beat the number 5 seeded team all in the entire tournament. He got called out for who he followed on Twitter. Now he happens to follow me. He happens to follow Outkick. He's a University of Tennessee graduate. Grew up outside of Nashville, and there are now crazy. It's pronounced like the sport. Tennis Sandgren. There are now crazy-ass left-wing sportscasters who are going through Twitter and finding guys who support conservative causes and quizzing them out of nowhere in the post-match interview. Now, this is something that I think is big. As a total First Amendment absolutist, have you ever heard anybody who has far left, or as I call them, the alt-left, like Michael Bennett, like Colin Kaepernick, have you ever heard anybody in the sports media aggressively question those guys? Has Colin Kaepernick had to answer one question in his career about calling modern police officers slave catchers? Has he had to answer one question about that? Has he had to seriously answer questions about saying that Cuba is better than America? Of course not, because the sports media wants to make Colin Kaepernick a hero. Michael Bennett was on the NFL Network for hours yesterday. Michael Bennett, who is a lying, race-baiting fraud who made up a story about being racially profiled by the Las Vegas Police Department, the NFL Network host didn't ask him one question about that the entire time that he was on the air. That's because if you are a far alt-left sports figure, nobody questions any opinion that you ever have. If you are a tennis player who has never said anything publicly about his politics, you just won the biggest tennis match of your life, you're into the effective Elite Eight, the quarterfinals of the Australian Open, you're the last American left, they go through your Twitter feed, look at your likes and retweets and who you follow, and accuse you of being a member of the alt-right and sympathizing with racism. I don't even understand how sports media can do this and not get completely called on it. It's a disgrace. It is totally unfair, and it's unequal treatment. And here's what I wrote about with the Kid Rock story at the NHL. This is an example of people trying to treat their opinions as if they're real news stories instead of just writing their opinion pieces. If that reporter who was writing about the NHL Network and Kid Rock, if they hate Kid Rock and they hate anybody who's got an opinion that's anything other than liberal, write that opinion. That can be your opinion piece. You're entitled to whatever political opinion you want. But don't treat your opinion as if it's the legitimate sports news and then dodge any kind of legitimate questioning at all when it comes to political beliefs. I think this is scary. I think this is downright scary that people who have conservative or right-wing political opinions don't feel like they can comfortably admit to them because the media is going to crush them and crucify them. Meanwhile, if you have a left-wing political opinion, you get praised for it and nobody ever calls you on your stupidity or your inconsistency. Remember, Michael Bennett didn't just say that he was that he didn't just make false racism accusations and never get called on them. He also said that NFL players were the equivalent of modern-day slaves, and nobody called him on it, other than me. And then they have him on the NFL Network, and he gets nominated for Man of the Year. It's such unequal treatment that all I'm asking for is equal treatment. I'm not asking for somebody to be treated better than anybody else. I'm not asking for somebody to be treated worse than anybody else. I'm just saying, if you are going to aggressively comb through somebody's Twitter feed to question them out of nowhere about their political opinions, then you should be doing the same thing on the left side of the equation as you are to the right. This is an attempt by media to cover controversies. You know, it's funny. I never got called controversial for any liberal opinion I had. Nobody ever said, noted pro-choice believer Clay Travis controversially said today that he doesn't believe in the death penalty. It's amazing to me. The only controversial opinions that I've ever had have been conservative in nature, i.e. Black Lives Matter is full of shit. Tax cuts are good things. People are like, oh, controversial sports prognosticator Clay Travis. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm controversial only if I have a conservative opinion. Not controversial for any liberal opinion I've ever had. It's wild. You think about it. The media makes up stories. They make up stories, and they decide that they're going to treat them as if they were real stories as opposed to opinion pieces. Go read my piece today on Outkick, and go read the Friday piece about the Kid Rock NHL controversy, and tell me that I'm not perfectly dissecting and taking you inside what actually is taking place. It's unbelievable. unbelievable how this situation shakes out. I'd encourage you to go watch that, listen to it, and break it down. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming to hang out with me. We'll be live tomorrow morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. If you haven't listened to the show yet, Sirius Channel 218, XM Channel 202, nearly 300 AM and FM stations nationwide. We're dominating across the face of the country. This is Outkick the Show, presented by OddsShark and our friends at The Home Loan Expert. Go check them back out. I love all of you. Go read those articles on Outkick. Remember, challenge yourself, read aggressively, think, don't be a lemming. I am Clay Travis, and don't be a pussy as well. This has been Outkick the Show.